Learn how to crochet a baby blanket with this easy striped baby blanket crochet pattern. In this step-by-step tutorial, I'll show you how to make a soft and snuggly striped baby blanket from start to finish. The blanket body is made with just 2 basic stitches, and it's a simple 1-row repeat, a perfect baby blanket for beginners. It creates a flowy, lightweight fabric without any large holes. You'll also learn how to carry your yarn up the sides so there are minimal ends to weave in. And I'll show you how to add the gorgeous textured border. It's a quick, modern 2-color baby blanket that looks stunning but is incredibly easy to make. This gender-neutral design works beautifully as a baby boy blanket, baby girl blanket, or you can easily adjust the size to make it as a larger crochet throw blanket. You'll want to crochet it again and again in every color combination. The written pattern is available to view for free on my website, and there's a link to the free pattern in the description below this video. For this pattern, you can use any size 3 light yarn in 2 colors. For a hook size, use a K hook. You may notice on your yarn label that for size 3 yarn, the yarn label will often recommend a smaller hook size. These labels give general guidelines, but for this pattern, using a larger hook with size 3 light yarn creates a softer, more flexible, flowy fabric that's perfect for a baby blanket. For this pattern, we're going to be using 2 colors. Color A, I used mint, and color B, I used aqua. Color A is what we're going to use to start and end the blanket body. We'll be starting with color A, and then we will add color B for the alternating stripes. We're also going to use color B for the border. I really love this color combination, and I think it looks wonderful in the blanket. But for this video tutorial, this mint color is a little hard for you to see exactly what I'm doing. To ensure you can easily see what I'm doing, I'm going to use this purple color for my color A for this video tutorial. This is the color I'll start with. And I'm going to use this blue color for my color B. We'll be adding color B next, and then I'll be using this blue color for the border. We're now going to begin the blanket body, so get your color A ready to go, and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is with your color A, make a slip knot. Place your slip knot on your hook and pull tight. To make the full-size blanket, chain 101. For this video tutorial, I'm going to make a small swatch, and you're welcome to make a small swatch with me to practice. To make a swatch, I'm going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. With our starting chains now made, we can begin row 1, and we're going to continue using color A until instructed to change colors. To start row 1, we are going to work into the second chain from the hook. Here's the first chain, and here's the second. When we're working into the starting chains, we're always going to work under the top loop of each starting chain. Starting with the second chain from the hook, we're going to insert our hook under that top loop and single crochet. This is the first stitch made in the row. You may find it helpful to place a stitch marker in the top of the first stitch made in every row. We are now going to work into the next chain. Once again, always working under this top loop, and into the next chain, we are going to double crochet. There's our double crochet stitch. We are now going to begin the repeat portion of the row, which is what we're going to be repeating all the way across. The first step in our repeat is to work into the next chain. Into this next chain, single crochet. And the next and final step in our repeat is to work into the next chain and double crochet. These are the steps you're going to repeat all the way across. In the next chain, we are going to single crochet. And in the next chain, we are going to double crochet. And repeat those 2 steps all the way across. In the next chain, single crochet. And in the next chain, double crochet. At the end of the row, nothing special happens. You're still following the exact same steps. In the second last chain, single crochet. And in the last chain, working in this last chain, double crochet. If you're making the full-size blanket, at the end of row 1, you should have 100 stitches. 50 of those are single crochet stitches, and 50 of those are double crochet stitches. Here in my swatch, I have 10 stitches. This last double crochet is our 10th stitch, and this first single crochet, the stitch with the stitch marker, is our first. Starting with the first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this last stitch is 10. A quick note that I recommend waiting until you've made several rows before measuring your work. The width of the blanket can fluctuate at the start. If after several rows you'd like to make it a different size, you can start again, and the written pattern includes instructions on how to adjust the size. We're now going to start row 2. First thing we're going to do is chain 1 and turn. For the rest of the blanket body, we're going to be working normally into the tops of stitches under the top 2 loops. We are going to work into the very first stitch. This is a stitch that's attached to that chain 1 we just made. It's the top of the last double crochet stitch from the previous row. Into this first stitch, we are going to single crochet. This is our first stitch made in the row. Once again, you may find it helpful to place a stitch marker in the top of this first stitch. Now we're going to work into the next stitch. This is the top of a single crochet stitch from the previous row. And into this next stitch, we are going to double crochet. Now we're going to go into the repeat portion of the row, which is what we're going to be repeating all the way across. The first step in our repeat is to work into the next stitch and single crochet. Work in the next stitch and make a single crochet. And the next and final part of our repeat is to work into the next stitch and double crochet. These are the steps you're going to repeat all the way across. In the next stitch, we are going to single crochet. A quick note is that you're always going to make single crochet stitches in the top of double crochet stitches from the previous row. So we'll be working in the top of a double crochet stitch, into this stitch, single crochet. Next, we are going to double crochet in the next stitch. A note that whenever you make a double crochet stitch, you're going to be working in the tops of single crochet stitches. Working into this next stitch, we are going to double crochet. And repeat those steps all the way across. In the next stitch, single crochet. In the next stitch, double crochet. At the end of the row, nothing special happens. You're still repeating these 2 steps. In the second last stitch, single crochet. And in the last stitch, this is the stitch with the stitch marker. We can now remove this marker. In the last stitch, double crochet. Row 2 is what we're going to be repeating for the rest of the blanket body. That means that every single row in your blanket should have the exact same number of stitches. If you're making the full-size blanket, you should have 100 stitches. 50 of those are single crochet stitches, and 50 of those are double crochet stitches. Here in my swatch, I have 10 stitches. This last double crochet stitch is our 10th stitch, and the single crochet stitch with the stitch marker is our first. At the beginning of the row, we chained 1. This chain never counts as a stitch. Counting our stitches starting with the first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are now going to change colors. We're picking up right where we left off. Place color B on your hook, and we're going to pull it through the loop of color A that's currently on our hook. You can tighten up your strands. Now we're ready to use color B, but we are not going to fasten off color A. We are going to leave it hanging exactly where it is. We're not touching it. Just put it aside for now. We're now ready to start row 3. And for row 3, we're going to be working with color B, and we're going to repeat what we just did and repeat row 2. Let's do it together. We are going to chain 1 and turn. In the first stitch, we are going to single crochet. If you're finding it helpful, feel free to continue placing a stitch marker in the first stitch made in every row. Now we're going to work into the next stitch and double crochet. Now we begin the repeat portion, working in the next stitch, single crochet, and working in the next stitch, double crochet. And repeat those steps all the way across. This now completes row 3. Once again, you should have the exact same number of stitches as you did the first time we did row 2. Now for row 4, we're still going to work with color B, and once again, we're going to repeat row 2. You're following the exact same steps. Chain 1 and turn. In the first stitch, single crochet. In the next stitch, double crochet. And repeat single crochet in the next stitch and double crochet in the next stitch all the way across. I've just finished row 4. We are now going to pick up color A, This tail of color B is in my way, so I'm going to hold this over here so you can see what I'm doing. We are simply going to pick up color A with your hand and place it on your hook. Now pull color A through the loop of color B that's currently on your hook. Now pull all your strands nice and tight. Here is the strand of color A that is now being carried up the side. When we add the border, we're going to be working around these strands of the unused color to cover them up. It's going to look unsightly as you make your blanket body. Once the border is added, these will be nice and hidden. You may find it helpful to weave the starting tails of color A and color B into the blanket at this point, just so that they're not in your way. To weave in your loose ends, go under stitches and try to hide that end naturally under stitches. I like to pull my work as I'm doing this to make sure that it keeps the correct tension. And I'm just going into stitches to try to hide this end. And I like to change directions to make sure that it's securely woven in. Keep pulling your work just to make sure that it doesn't pull on it. And once you're happy with how that end is hidden, and you're welcome to do this a few times, going back and forth, changing directions, and hiding that end under stitches. Once you're happy with it, I like to give it a little tug, cut as close as I can to the blanket. And once I stretch my work out a little bit, that end is now perfectly hidden. I'm now going to do the same for the starting tail of color B. Now my starting tails are out of my way. We are now ready to work with color A for the next row. We are going to leave color B exactly where it is. We are not going to fasten it off. Just put it aside for the next 2 rows. For rows 5 and 6, we're going to be working with color A, and we're going to do the exact same thing we've been doing and repeat row 2. You go ahead and repeat row 2 for rows 5 and 6, and then come back to the video. I've just completed rows 5 and 6 with color A. It's now time to change colors again. We're going to change back to color B. We're going to pick up color B that was left attached to our work. We're just going to pick it up and place it on our hook. Now pull color B through the loop of color A and pull all the strands tight. Here you can see the strand of color B being carried up the side. And when we go to add the border, we're going to be working around this strand, just like we will be for this strand here too, to hide the strands. Once again, you're going to leave your color A exactly where it is. Don't fasten it off. And now you're ready to repeat row 2 with color B. For the rest of the blanket body, which for me was 98 rows, so for rows 7 to 98, you are going to repeat rows 3, 4, 5, and 6. Essentially, you're going to be repeating row 2 with color B for 2 rows, and then repeating row 2 with color A for 2 rows until you reach your desired height. For me, I completed 98 rows, and my completed blanket measured 33 inches wide and 33 inches high. You can continue repeating rows 3 to 6 consecutively until you reach your desired height. It doesn't need to match my measurements. You do want to ensure that you end after completing 2 rows with color A. Color A is what started the blanket body, and we want color A to end the blanket body. But other than that, you can continue repeating these alternating stripes until you reach your desired height. Once you've reached your desired height, don't fasten off. Come back to the video and we will do the border together. I've just repeated rows 3 to 6 another time, and I'm going to pretend this is my desired height for my blanket body, and I'm ready to now start the border. You can see that I've ended the blanket body with a repeat of row 5 and 6, which is a repeat of row 2 with color A. We are going to start border round 1 right after our last stitch of row 6 made with color A. To start border round 1, we're going to pick up color B. We're going to be using color B for the border. We are going to pick up color B and place it on our hook. Now pull color B through the loop of color A and pull all your strands tight. We can now fasten off color A. This means to cut the yarn that's attached to your skein. I like to leave an approximate 8-inch long tail. Cut the yarn. This is all we need to do to fasten off color A. We will be using color B for the rest of the border. Just to ensure that this ending tail from color A doesn't get in my way, I'm going to take a quick moment and weave in this loose end. We are now ready to start border round 1. To start border round 1, we're going to chain 1. We are not going to turn. We are going to be working down the side, and we are going to make a single crochet stitch at the end of every row. The exact stitch placement is not important. When making your single crochet stitches, you can work under one loop, or there could be places where you find it's better to work under 2 loops, or there could even be spaces around these stitches that you want to work into. Again, the exact stitch placement is not important. When we make our single crochet stitches, we're going to be working into the ends of stitches from the blanket body, and we're going to work over these strands of the unused colors that we carried up the side. When making our single crochet stitches, we're going to insert our hook into 1 loop or 2 or a space from the blanket body, and then we're going to ensure that the strand of the unused color also goes onto our hook, and then we're going to make our single crochet stitch normally. Working into the end of the last row here, I'm going to insert my hook into this stitch and make sure that the strand of the unused color is on top of my hook. Making my first single crochet stitch down the side, insert my hook into this stitch and make sure that the strand of the unused color is on top of my hook. Now I can single crochet normally. For this border, you may find it helpful to place a stitch marker in the top of the first stitch made in every round. We're now going to make our next single crochet stitch at the end of the second last row. Find a place at the end of this row to make your single crochet stitch. Some of the stitches at the ends of rows can be quite tight, and you may find it helpful to make your stitch in the space around these stitches. I'm going to work into this space right here, insert my hook, and make sure that the strand of the unused color is also on my hook. And now I can single crochet normally. Working into the third last row, find a good spot and single crochet, making sure the strand of the unused color is also on your hook. And you're going to continue doing this all the way down. Here I'm at the last row, which was actually the first row. We've now single crocheted all the way down the side, and you can see we've covered up all those strands of those unused colors. Now we're going to be working along the bottom. We're always going to be inserting our hook under 2 loops. We'll be working into the chain stitches that started the pattern, and we'll be working under both loops of these chains. We're going to start by working into the very first chain. Into this chain, we're going to make 3 single crochet stitches all in the same chain. Working into this first chain, make 3 single crochet stitches all in the same chain. This is going to create our first corner. Now we're going to make 1 single crochet stitch in each chain all the way across until there is 1 chain left. But up until then, we're just going to make 1 single crochet stitch. Working in the next chain, and sometimes these can be a little tight. Take your time. Work under both loops and single crochet. And single crochet in each chain all the way across until there's 1 chain left. I've now worked in each chain all the way across, and I have 1 chain left. In this last chain, make 3 single crochet stitches all in the same chain. This creates our second corner. We're now going to work up the side and make 1 single crochet stitch at the end of each row. We're going to do the same thing we did when we worked down the side, except this time we have no strands to work around or to try to cover. At the end of each row, find a spot where you can make a single crochet stitch. And again, exact placement is not important. We're going to start by working into the end of the first row and single crochet. Find a spot at the end of the second row to single crochet and simply make 1 single crochet stitch at the end of each row, and do that all the way up the side. I've now worked all the way up the side. We're now going to work across the top, and we're going to start by working into the very first stitch. Into this first stitch, we are going to make 3 single crochet stitches all in the same stitch. This is our third corner. Now we are going to single crochet in each stitch, working normally under the top 2 loops all the way across until we get to the last stitch. In the next stitch, single crochet and single crochet in each stitch all the way across until the last stitch. In the last stitch, we're going to make 3 single crochet stitches all in the same stitch. This creates our fourth and final corner. To finish the round, we're going to work into the very first stitch made in the round. This is the stitch with the stitch marker. We can now remove the marker, and into the top of that first stitch, we are going to slip stitch to join. That now completes the first round of the border. We're going to now start border round 2. First thing we're going to do is chain 2. 1, 2. We are not going to turn. We're going to work into the very first stitch. The same stitch we just slip stitched into, the same stitch that's attached to this chain 2 we just made. Into this first stitch, we are going to double crochet. Here's our first double crochet stitch made in the round. As it's the first stitch, let's place a stitch marker in the top of this stitch. For the rest of this round, you're going to double crochet in each stitch all the way around, except for when you get to a corner stitch. A corner stitch is the middle of 3 single crochet stitches made in the corner in the previous round. Here's our first corner stitch, and until we get to this stitch, you're simply making 1 double crochet stitch. In the next stitch, make a double crochet stitch and make 1 double crochet stitch in each stitch until you get to that corner stitch. I am now at my first corner stitch. In this corner stitch, we're going to make 9 double crochet stitches all in the same stitch. Into this stitch, we're going to make 9 double crochet stitches. There's 1, there's 2. You go ahead and make 9 double crochet stitches into the same stitch. I have just made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 double crochet stitches into the corner stitch. It's completely okay for your corners to balloon out, as you can see it's doing here. That will be fixed as the border grows. Now that we've worked in the corner stitch, we resume working in the next stitch and make 1 double crochet stitch. You're going to make 1 double crochet until you get to that corner stitch where you'll make 9, then double crochet in each stitch until you get to the 3rd corner and make 9, and then resume making 1 until you get to the 4th corner. Here is your 4th corner. This is the middle of the 3 single crochet stitches made in the 4th corner. Here is where you're going to be making your 9 double crochet stitches. Then after that, you'll make 1 in the last stitch. Right here is the slip stitch that joined the previous round, and this slip stitch never gets worked into. Then here was our starting chain 2. You'll make your 9 double crochet stitches in the second last stitch of the round and make 1 double crochet in the last stitch. I've just finished working all the way around. As I mentioned before, it's absolutely okay if your corners balloon out, as mine are doing here. This will be fixed as the border grows. You can see that I've made my 9 double crochet stitches in the 4th corner stitch here. And then in the very last stitch of the round, I've made 1 double crochet stitch. At the end of this round, you need to have an odd number of double crochet stitches. And if you don't have an odd number, that's absolutely okay. We can fix that right away. Before we join the round, we need to count our double crochet stitches. The first stitch you'll count is this first double crochet stitch, the stitch with the stitch marker. Here was the starting chain 2 that began the round. Do not count this chain 2. Only count your double crochet stitches. I find it easiest to count the tops of stitches, and your exact stitch count is not important, but what you need is an odd number of double crochet stitches. Starting with this first stitch, counting all the way around, all the way to this last double crochet stitch. And you're going to include all the stitches made in the corners. You need to have an odd number of double crochet stitches. If you have an odd number of stitches, wonderful. You can now proceed to join. To join the round, you're going to work into the first stitch. This is the stitch with the stitch marker. You can now remove this marker, and into the top of that first double crochet stitch, you're going to slip stitch to join. If you have an even number of stitches, you're going to make one more double crochet stitch in the same stitch as your last double crochet stitch. Simply make one more double crochet stitch into this last stitch. And this is only if you have an even number of stitches. In the last stitch, make another double crochet stitch. And now you can proceed to join. Remove the stitch marker from the first stitch, working into the top of this first double crochet stitch, slip stitch to join. In case it's helpful, I'm going to quickly count my stitches on the video, but feel free to skip ahead to border round 3 if you don't need any help with this part. Starting with the very first stitch, the stitch with the stitch marker, I'm counting in 2s. So there's 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74, 76, 78, 79, and 80. Once again, the exact stitch count is not important. We're only concerned with whether you have an even or odd number of stitches. Since I have 80 stitches, I have an even number, so I need to make another double crochet stitch in this last stitch. I'm making another double crochet stitch in the last stitch, so that now I have 81 double crochet stitches, which is an odd number, and I can now proceed to join. Now I'm working into the top of the first stitch to join. To start border round 3, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We are not going to turn. For this round, we are going to be making front post and back post double crochet stitches. We are going to be working around the double crochet stitches that we just made in the previous round. Here was the chain 2 we just made. Directly below it is the chain 2 from the previous round. We never work around this chain 2. We're going to be working around the first double crochet stitch from the round below. Around the post of this stitch, we are going to make a front post double crochet stitch. We are going to be inserting our hook from the front to the back to the right of this stitch, not working into tops of stitches, inserting our hook to the right of this first stitch. Then we're going to bring our hook out to the left of that same stitch. Let's make our first front post double crochet stitch. Working around the first double crochet stitch, the first thing we do is yarn over. Insert your hook to the right of that first stitch and bring your hook out to the left of that same stitch. And now we finish our double crochet stitch like we normally would. Yarn over and pull the yarn through the stitch. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, bring the yarn through the first 2 loops. Yarn over, bring the yarn through the remaining 2 loops. And there's our first front post double crochet stitch. As it's the first stitch made in the round, I'm going to place a stitch marker in the top of this first stitch. We are now going to be working around the post of the next stitch. And this actually begins the repeat portion of the round, which we're going to be repeating all the way around. The first step in our repeat is to work around the post of the next stitch. And this time we're going to make a back post double crochet stitch. We are going to be inserting our hook from the back to the front of this next stitch. And then we're going to bring our hook out to the left of that stitch, just like this. Let's make our first back post double crochet stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook from the back to the front to the right of the next stitch. Now bring your hook out towards the back to the left of that stitch. And now we finish our double crochet stitch like we normally would. Yarn over, pull the yarn through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull the yarn through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull the yarn through the remaining 2 loops. There is our first back post double crochet stitch. As I mentioned, that's the first step in our repeat. The next and final step in our repeat is to work around the next stitch, and we're going to make a front post double crochet stitch. We're going to go from front to back around the post of the next stitch and bring our hook out to the left. Working around the next stitch, make a front post double crochet stitch. These are the steps you're going to repeat all the way around. Around the next stitch, make a back post double crochet stitch. Working around the next stitch, back post double crochet. Around the next stitch, front post double crochet. Around the next stitch, back post. And around the next stitch, front post. And you're going to repeat those 2 steps all the way around. When you get to a corner, nothing special happens. You're still repeating the exact same steps. I've made a front post double crochet stitch here, so my next stitch will be a back post. And then you're going to do a front post, back post, front post, back post. You go ahead and repeat that all the way around and then come back to the video. I'm almost finished repeating those steps all the way around. Here was my last back post double crochet stitch, and here's my last front post double crochet stitch. Nothing special happens at the end of the round, but let's finish it together. I have 2 stitches left to work around. Here's my second last stitch, and here's my last stitch. Beside this last stitch is the starting chain 2 that never gets worked around. We're going to continue those steps around the last 2 stitches. Around the second last stitch, we are going to back post double crochet. And around this last stitch, we're going to make a front post double crochet. To finish the round, we're going to work into the top of the first front post double crochet stitch. This is the stitch with the stitch marker. We can now remove this marker, and into the top of this first stitch, we are going to slip stitch to join. We are now going to do border round 4, which is the final round. To start border round 4, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We are not going to turn. We are going to make our first stitch around the front post double crochet stitch that we made in the previous round. Here's our chain 2, and right below this chain 2 is the chain 2 from the previous round that never gets worked around. We're going to make a front post double crochet stitch around this front post double crochet stitch. We're going to be inserting our hook to the right of that stitch and bringing it out to the left of that stitch. Working around this first front post double crochet, front post double crochet. If it's helpful, place a stitch marker in the top of this first stitch. Now we're going right into the repeat portion of the round. First step in our repeat is to work around the post of the next stitch. This is the post of a back post double crochet stitch that we made in the previous round. Around this back post double crochet stitch, we're going to back post double crochet. We're going to be inserting our hook from back to front and coming out to the left of that stitch. Around the next stitch, back post double crochet. That's the first step in our repeat. The next step is to work around the next stitch. We're going to be working around the post of this front post double crochet stitch and making a front post double crochet stitch. We'll be inserting our hook from front to back around this next stitch. Working around the next stitch, front post double crochet. And these are the steps you're going to repeat all the way around. Around the next stitch, make a back post double crochet. Around the next stitch, make a front post double crochet. Around the next stitch, back post. And around the next stitch, front post. And simply repeat those steps all the way around. When you get to a corner, nothing special happens. Here was my back post double crochet and then my front post double crochet, and I'm still repeating those two steps even at the corners. So next I will make a back post, then a front post, back post, front post, back post, front post, and do that all the way around. I'm almost finished working all the way around. Nothing special happens at the end of the round, but let's finish it together. Here was my last back post double crochet, and here's my last front post double crochet. I have 2 more stitches to work around. Here's that chain 2 that we don't work around. Around the second last stitch, we are going to back post double crochet. And around the last stitch, front post double crochet. To finish the round, we're going to work into the first stitch, the stitch with the stitch marker. You can now remove this marker. Working in the top of this first front post double crochet stitch, we are going to slip stitch to join. We can now fasten off our yarn, which means to remove our hook, cut the yarn that's attached to your skein, and now pull the end through the loop that was on your hook and pull tight. And now with your yarn needle, weave in all your loose ends. And now you have a new blanket. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoy making this blanket. If you have any questions or if there's anything at all I can do to help, please let me know. If you enjoyed this tutorial, I'd be delighted if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.